Elon Musk pledges that his new Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, can show how to cut federal spending by $2 trillion per year. Musk and his DOGE partner, Vivek Ramaswamy, are compiling a list of Uncle Sam's biggest boondoggles to send to the Trump White House. Donald Trump labeled the Musk-led DOGE effort as the Manhattan Project of our time, comparing it to the discovery of the atomic bomb during World War II. Musk is seeking super high IQ zealots to carry out his DOGE charge. This is a major reversal inside the Beltway since DC's best and brightest have become rich and powerful by pretending that government waste doesn't exist. Actually, everybody in Washington thinks they're the smartest person in the room, except for me. DOGE should start out by targeting federal policies and edicts that directly multiply Americans' misery. Federal regulations cost Americans more than $3 trillion per year, more than $20,000 per household. Federal and state grants to mass transit authorities entitle subways to scorn their commuters. After the Washington subway system got a surge in subsidies a few years ago, it responded by shutting down key line sections for months at a time for alleged repair work that took forever. The purpose of those extra subsidies was to pay salaries for goof-off employees, not to actually provide transit to anyone going to an actual job. In New York City, the MTA recently spent $250 million for an emergency subway intercom system, but half of all the emergency phone calls are prank calls. Thanks to anti-efficiency Department of Energy regulations, dishwashers don't clean as well as they used to, and they take twice as long to finish, providing ample time for homeowners to contemplate their climate sins. A pending rule for new water heaters will raise the cost by almost $1,000. But best of all is the Environmental Protection Agency's mandate for using only EPA-approved refrigerants in air conditioners. The only problem? The new refrigerants are flammable. Aside from the fire, Mrs. Lincoln, how did you like your new AC? Federal grants for bike lanes are fueling traffic slowdowns and spawning fierce urban clashes. A public workshop on a proposed new network of bike lanes for Queens turned into an open brawl last month, and a judge recently blocked a new bike lane in Long Island City. The push for bike lanes on busy city roads is often dishonest, just trickery targeting the very residents who have to pay for this stuff, said the Washington Post. When did Washington turn bicyclists into sacred cows anyhow? Federal mandates on self-driving cars are another example of bureaucratic folly on automatic pilot in D.C. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration prohibits auto manufacturers from deploying more than 2,500 autonomous vehicles per year. The feds also require self-driving cars to have steering wheels. That is as pointless as spending billions of dollars a year to rent office space for government employees who never show up for work. Federal blindfolds are another worthy target for a budgetary chainsaw massacre. The Biden administration spent $300 million for censorship and misinformation, pressuring social media companies to cancel comments that Washington disapproved. How about if the feds stopped using our tax dollars to muzzle us and blindfold us? America survived hundreds of years without the White House officials intervening to suppress anyone who mocked officialdom. On Wednesday, Elon Musk tweeted, calling for a cancellation of the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau. This has been called the most powerful and unaccounted regulatory agency, and it exists to terrorize financial institutions, according to billionaire Trump donor Mark Andreessen. Plenty of low-income Americans could suffer from the CFPB's proposal to restrict digital payment apps. DOGE should hammer federal and state school subsidies that are based on student attendance. This gives school bureaucrats a perverse incentive to keep violent kids in school, regardless of how much chaos and carnage results. Federal grants to curb the school-to-prison pipeline for minority students helped spur the 2018 Parkland, Florida school shooting that left 17 dead. Nicholas Cruz, a Hispanic student, was not expelled from school even after committing numerous assaults and announcing on YouTube, I'm going to become a professional school shooter. Someone alerted the FBI, but they ignored the warning because they were chasing other rabbits. Nowadays, conservatives are posting a lot of lists of wasteful federal grants online, and some of the wackiest cases are from the National Institutes for Health, such as researching whether cocaine makes quails horny. But NIH does much worse stuff. A congressional report on Monday detailed how NIH gain-of-function grants to a Chinese lab were probably the source of the COVID pandemic that left 7 million people dead across the world. If Democrats are unwilling to get rid of those kind of risky grants, perhaps they'd support making NIH pledge that any of its future fiascos will not kill more than 1 million people. Also, how about if the feds stop killing beagles? Musk is correct that Washington's status quo is anti-democratic and entrenched in ever-growing bureaucracy represents an existential threat to our republic. But DOGE will not be a self-driving fix to save the Constitution. Even the most damning roundup of government waste, fraud, and abuse by itself will not be enough to force Washington to repent. That will require the longest, hardest fight that Trump, Musk, and others can muster in the coming years. Stay tuned.
For more stories like these, be sure to subscribe to the New York Post right here on YouTube.